And if he's calling us to a higher level of praise and we hide that level that he's calling us to, then we will find ourselves not being responsible for that level. Now let's hit the word hid, because if you look at that word hid, it would look like he was doing a good thing, because it looked like he cared for what his master had given him. He said, he told the master, well, I hid it because, in one translation said he hid it carefully. He hid it carefully as if, I don't want anything to happen to what my master has given me. So one of the things that we have to be careful of is that we are not taking what God has invested in us. Because one of the translations of hid talks to conceal. And it says that hypothetically it means to conceal so that it's never revealed to anyone. We can't take what God has given to us. And we have to be good stewards over it. If we're not good stewards over it and we're trying to conceal it so that no one ever sees it, it will never develop into what he's called us to. And we're in a season of development. We're in a season where he wants to use every single thing that he has invested in each and every one of us. But if we keep hiding that thing, then we'll never be able to use it. Do you know there's two examples in the Old Testament? Genesis chapter 3, I think is around verse 8. It talks about Adam and Eve. It talks about after they had eaten of the fruit. And after they had partaken of the fruit, it said they heard God coming in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid. But then you go to Psalms 119, and David said, thy word have I hid in my heart that I may not sin against thee. So if you're trying to translate it according to what Psalm says, you would think what this young man did or this servant did was a good thing. But that's two different types of hid. The hid that they're talking about in Matthew parallels with the hid that they were talking about in Genesis. It talks about hiding from the Creator, almost in a way attempting to deceive him. When we hide what he's called us to do, or hide what he's invested in us, or hide our ability to do what he's called us to do, honestly, we're almost being borderline deceptive. We're being deceptive. And it's not, no, I can't say almost being. We're being deceptive. Because really, a lot of the answers to the problems that we have, a lot of solutions to the things that we're involved in, are wrapped up in what he's called us to do. But the reality is we've hid the answer. We've hid it. Now, if you go over the Psalms, and it talks about hiding, because some people might say, well, he didn't do nothing wrong because I hid the word in my heart. But that talks about to hoard. And whenever you hoard something, you hide it for future use. So that's two different examples of hid. When you hide what he's called you to do, you're not hiding it for future use. It talks about hiding it in like a place of protection. I'm going to protect the word because I understand that that's what I need in order to be able to defeat the enemy in my life. That's hoarding. That's Psalms 119. That's what I'm doing with the words. But the hiding that we're talking about here, it was disrespectful, what he did. It was a disrespectful, it was as if he was saying, I don't really value what you gave me. And what we have to make sure, and I'm talking to myself, I'm rebuking myself. Do you know why I have to rebuke myself? Because last week, God told me to go to overseer and go to an apostle and ask them, could I do one more week? And I didn't do it. I did not do it. And, somebody else was scheduled to do it, and I was thinking, well, I got out of doing it. But then I still ended up having to do it. And what God was telling me was, when you really value it, it's good to see you, Cecil. I saw the pictures. I'm glad it did not turn out the way the enemy thought it was going to turn out.
You're trying to make us pray.
I'm telling you, I saw that. I said, good God Almighty. And I pray that God move and give you supernatural favor. I don't know if you already looked for another car, but I pray that he give you supernatural favor, that wherever you go to get a car, that they will find favor in you. You know why? Because here's what you've done. Anytime, I'm sorry, but we're gonna flow anyway. It's prophetic teaching, so might as well do some demonstration with it as well.
Demonstrate.
In the Old Testament, there was a woman, and she built a room. She made room for the prophet. Every time the prophet came in town, she made sure the prophet had a room. He had somewhere where he could study. He had somewhere where he could rest. He had somewhere where he could relax. That's the same thing that y'all have done. And I pray that God will reward you from that and establish a testimony so you can see exactly what you were doing. But I praise God that it did not turn out the way and I was telling the apostle, I said, she praised God like crazy last week. And sometimes we don't know what our praise is for. We don't understand exactly what's going on with our praise. That's why we can't hide it. That's why we can't hide it. So I challenge us today. No longer hide your gift. No longer hide your talent, your ability. No longer hide your praise. But every opportunity you get, I don't care where you're at. I don't care what's going on. Break out in a praise. And it's not always you don't have to dance if you don't dance. But I'm talking about where you give God the glory that's due unto him. Because sometimes what we do is we half give him glory. And when we half give him glory, it doesn't testify to how awesome he really is. But I pray that we no longer hide. And I heard you talked about this Tuesday night as well. I can't remember who told me. Sister Candy, when she heard me talk about it Wednesday night, she was telling me you talked about this. God is trying to get us our attention to understand we can no longer hide that which is invested in us. Because we have the answer. I might have the answer or the solution to what you're going through. You might have the answer and the solution to what she's going through. You might have it for her. You might have it. Everybody might have it for each other. But if we keep hiding it and hiding behind it, we will never get to the place where we can be able to be used by God for him to answer our questions by answering somebody else's questions. I told God, this has been one of the roughest weeks of my life. And I'm going to get to my notes. It's been one of the roughest weeks of my life. Teach. I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to do anything because it seemed like, one of them weeks where it said everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I went to the doctor's office. This was supposed to be my last visit. And they were supposed to release me, be able to drive and go back to work and all that good stuff. The night before, whether it be emotional rejection, he said whenever there's any type of rejection in your body, it throws your entire immune system off. And he said what ends up happening is when your immune system is off, it throws off everything else and makes you more susceptible. Is that the word? Susceptible. Thank you. Susceptible to being attacked in other areas of your body. Same thing with our life. When we're going through, that's the same thing. If we're not careful and we're not doing what we're supposed to do, then it begins to open up doors in other areas of our lives. So he said, are you under stress? And I was like, yes. I said, yes. He said, you got to stop stressing. Now, why should he have to tell me that if I'm supposed to be the man of God? You got to stop stressing. You're stressing too much. He said, and that stress now has caused your other eye to come under attack. I said, oh, man, I didn't really think about it like that. And he was like, so what are you stressing about? Now he's ministering to me. I'm supposed to be the one ministering to him. Now he has to minister to me because I'm out of place. Because while I was going through, I decided to hide what he invested in me. Because anytime you don't hide what he invested in you, you can flip it and use it on your own self. By the prophetic. If you can't prophesy to your own self, your prophetic is worth nothing. It's worth nothing. If you can't flip that thing on yourself and begin to prophesy to yourself, it means nothing. You have to begin to be able to do it in your own life. So he began to minister to me and he said, you got to get somewhere where you can relax and quit worrying about this and quit worrying about that. And I was mad because all I was worried about is the results. I was more worried about the results than embracing the process. And because I didn't embrace the process, now the process had to be prolonged a little bit. So he started talking to me and everything. He said, well, I'm going to tell you this. He said, if you don't stop stressing, I'm going to have to do surgery again on both your eyes. I said, oh, no, that's not going to happen. No, you're not doing that. That's definitely not happening. He said, I have to do surgery on both your eyes. He said, but if you don't stop stressing, I'm still not going to do the surgery until you stop stressing. So then I had to realize I'm at fault. I'm the one prolonging this situation. I'm prolonging this situation. It's not anybody else. It's not nobody else's fault. It's not the devil's fault. It's not God attempting to teach me a lesson. It's not any of those things. It's me prolonging the situation. So he said, I want you to, he upped my doses in both eyes with my eye drops. But one of the things I realized, I got home And when I got home, first I had a pity party. I ain't gonna front, I ain't gonna lie. I had a pity party. And I started thinking about everything that's been going on. I started thinking about everybody that I felt wasn't serving God to the capacity that I felt they should be, and how blessed they were being, and how much I felt like I was not being blessed. And then I had to grab myself and pull myself and get myself together to understand, wait a minute. You are sitting here with too much power, too much authority. You have too much of God inside of you for you to be submitting to that battle. Now here's what he told me concerning this eye. He said this eye was going to be in pain for about 2 more weeks or so. He said it wasn't going to clear up. He said you're going to have these pains, it's going to be real sensitive to lights and all this different stuff that was going to go on with this eye. Do you know, literally, when I made up my mind that I was going to fight this thing, this eye not only started clearing up, but I haven't had pain from it since then. So what I had to understand was, when I get myself, and I know this it's very basic, it's very, practical. When you get yourself in the right position and get yourself where you're supposed to be, then you strip the power of the enemy. And you strip the power of your flesh. Because what has happened is we've empowered our flesh so much. We've empowered it. We let it pop off when it wants to pop off. And we say, you know what, I'm only human. God understands. I'm only human.
That's what they say.
God understands. I'm only human. You know what? At some point we have to grow up and stop saying I'm only human. And realize that if I'm going to say that God is as awesome as I profess him to be, then I need to allow him to be awesome in every area of my life. And you have to begin to take prophetic dominion over your life. That's taking prophetic dominion over your life. That's when you begin to chart the course for your life. When you begin to say, I'm going to prophetically declare and decree, and you go past the prophetic, and I want to stop. I do apologize. I give honor to Chief Apostle Roach. I give honor to him on today. We thank God for him. I give honor to Overseer on today. We thank God for him. Apostle Abbott on today. Pastor Delane on today. Lady Mika on today. Elder-elect on today. Each and every one of you, I give you honor on today. But when we make up our mind and take that prophetic dominion over our own lives, well, what's prophetic dominion? That sounds like a big word. No, you just take responsibility for what's going on in the midst of your life and understand that you have the authority to shift and change that situation in your life. We have been, one of the things that we have been too nice. We've been nice. One of the things I had to understand, somebody told me one day, I said, you're a very nice person, but do you understand nice people aren't always successful? They said in order to be successful in the business world, they said you don't have to con people, but at times you have to take a position where people don't see you as nice. That's the same thing in the spirit. Sometimes we need to position ourselves where people might say, that was nasty. Now, I'm not talking about where we just get nasty with people, because you know how we can do sometimes. I'm talking about where we take stands that they may not agree with, that at times hurts their feelings. You know why? Because you know what I learned about myself? Sometimes I didn't grow until my feelings were hurt. I didn't grow until my feelings was hurt. Till I say it's all up in my baby feelings. Till I was all up in my baby feelings. I did not grow. And some of us, I'm going to be real with us, we're too apprehensive and we're too nice. And the more we get aggressive about it, the more we'll begin to see changes in the midst of our lives. I want to read this scripture, and then we're going to get to the notes. Matthew 25, I told you I want to read it in another translation concerning the one that hid the talent, because this blessed me. I want to read it here. It says, he said, the servant given 1,000, and they translate it to money, said, Master, I know you have high standards and hate careless ways, that you demand the best and make no allowances for errors. I was afraid that I might disappoint you, so I found a good hiding place and secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound, down to the last cent. Now I want us to think about our master. Think about them things he said about his master. Is that how God is to us? Is that how he is? Is he ruthless? Is he mean? Is he any of those things? No. So we have no reason to hide it. And to be real with you, this was another excuse he was using as well. Because if he really knew his master, if he really had taken time to study and get to know his master, he would have known, like the other two understood, I need to go flip this thing so that when he comes back, it's not in the same state that it was in when he left. I want to ask us a question. The gifts, talents, abilities, callings, purpose, destiny that's in our lives, is it in the same state that God gave it to us in the beginning?
Good God.
Or have we allowed it to develop? And if we have allowed it to develop, has it developed at the pace that it should develop at? Or have we hid it in the earth? Have we hid it in the earth? In the earth. This is us. That's what we were made out of. He took it, took the earth and made us. Have we hid it in the earth? Inside of us. Have we hid it? Because if we hid it inside of us, then we need to do just like Jacob. And it said Jacob went and he redug the wells that his father had once dug. And it said he redug it and he found, water was found and it began to flow. Some of us inside of us, we need to redig some wells inside of us. Because there is greatness inside of each and every one of us. And the solution to everything that we're going through is not without. I don't care if you are a millionaire. Receive that though, but I don't care if you are a millionaire. It might look like you have the answer to my problems because you're a millionaire, but the reality is you don't have the answers to my problems. You might help me answer one problem, but you can't answer every problem in my life. Why? Because the wealth that God has given me is inside of me to be the solution for myself. So I can't look for you for the answer. I can't go chasing this. This is another thing. We're talking about the prophetic. We can't go chasing every prophet. We can't do it. Give me a word. Give me a word. I just want a word. I just want a word. Give me a word. Give me a word. Well, what are we going to do with the last word we got? What have we done with it? Is that still in the, now I want to ask us, is that still in the same state that it was in when it was given? Because if so, then we are out of order. Because you know what God said? My word will not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish everything that I sent it to accomplish. Which means it will not return in the state that I sent it out or in a lesser state than I sent it out. So if it's still in the same state that it was in when he first spoke it, we're undeveloped. And we have no excuse to be undeveloped. Now, if you're undeveloped because of the fact that you're not under good teaching, you're not under a ministry that pushes you, you're not, you have those type of whatever, I could understand. But you are at a ministry that empowers, pushes you forth, encourages you to go forth. Not one of us here should be undeveloped. If we are, we have to turn the mirror on ourselves. So I know some of us like to look in mirrors, And we have to begin to look in the mirror at ourselves and say, you know what? This is life. It's my fault. You did this to me. And I'm talking to myself. I can't say, oh, you know what? If she hadn't looked at me sideways 6 months ago.
6 months ago.
6 months ago, I wouldn't be in the state that I'm in right now. So we have to take responsibility for our prophetic destiny. Each of us are a prophetic word. Each and every one of us are a prophetic word. It's almost time. What time is it? Each of us are a prophetic word. Okay, good. Each of us are a prophetic word, waiting to come to pass, waiting to blossom. But if we never allow him to do what he desires to do, we'll never develop because we kept it hidden. Let's read that next verse. All right, here we go. The next verse says the master was furious. Did you want me to use that? Why you put it up?
If you want to.
No. The master was furious. That's a terrible way to live. Can I be honest with you? In order for you to fully use what God has given to you, you got to be willing to take some risk. You got to be, and it ties right into finance. I'm not talking about finances today. But they say scared money don't make money. That's some lyrics there, but I'm not saying the lyrics. But you need to understand, scared money don't make money. Can I be honest with you? Scared gift don't do nothing. Scared gift does not develop. Scared talent does not develop. Scared ability does not develop. When we're scared, we're apprehensive about it, and we're not confident in it. And the reality is, can I be honest why some of us aren't confident in it? Can I talk about myself when I used to not be confident in it? Because we haven't really prepared for it. We haven't prepared for it. We really haven't prepared for it. Because some of us will be like, here's my apprehension. How do I know it's God and it's not me? You know why I was like that though? Can I be real with you? Because I was holding more conversation with other people than I was holding with him. And because I was holding more conversation with other people, I knew their voice more than I knew his voice. We can't know his voice if we don't allow him to talk to him.
You preaching and reaching.
We can't know his voice if our prayer time is us talking to him. God, I need you to do this. God, I'm tired of this. God, if you don't get them, I'm going to get them. God this, God that, God that. And you never take the time to slow down to hear what he's saying to you.
To shut up. Come on.
And then we got to get in this word. If you say, I'm at a place where I can't hear God, take that Bible, open that Bible up and read his word, and I guarantee you it can apply to every area of your life. Every area of your life.
Hallelujah.
Take it and apply it. I'm telling you, because that's our apprehension. Our apprehension is not the fact that, I'm so humble, I don't want to miss God. That's not humility. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be real, because I was there, so I know. That's not humility. Because you know what some of us are dealing with? I don't want to be embarrassed. I'll tell you the truth. It's pride.
Yeah.
That's pride. Here's why. It started in elementary school. For some of us, it started in elementary school. We raised our hand. We said the wrong answer.
Yes.
Everybody laughed. And I repent because I was one of the ones that used to laugh at people. I'm not going to lie to you. I did. I used to laugh at people. And used to encourage them. I had to get some shit. I used to encourage them. Knowing they had the wrong answer. And laugh. It started there. It started right then and started right there. And then it was. It honestly was. I admit it.
That's
It was.
like the lowest level.
It was. But the reality is, that's where it started. And then as we grew up, now we become apprehensive in class to answer anything. And we would have the short answer. And we still become apprehensive. We'll sit in service and know God is dealing with us prophetically. We know he is. We know, because I'm going to tell you the truth. Here's how I know when God deals with me. Because I know me. And outside of him, the stuff he gives me, I couldn't come up with. I couldn't. Not, regardless of how smart and intelligent I may be, I could not come up with some of the stuff without him. So I know that it's him. But we have to deal with that. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be embarrassed. And I know it's not, and I don't downplay that. I don't downplay it. I really don't downplay it. But if you're ever really going to be humble, do you know the base word of humble is, or humility is? It means humility. Humility. Humility, that might be a new word. Humiliate. That's what I was thinking. I was going crazy. I was like, I was thinking the same thing. Song popped right in my head. But it means humiliate.
Wow.
Humiliate. Now, I'm not saying you're just going to get up and God's going to humiliate you. But at the same time, getting up and stepping out there, launching out into the deep, is humiliating. It is, especially for people who are, I've never been a person that liked to be in front of people. That's not me. This is not me at all. I will help in the background as much as possible. But in order to step where I had to step, I had to take some risk. Because if I didn't take any risk, then I would just be the status quo. How many of y'all here want to be the status quo? Just are comfortable with being the status quo? No, because, put your hand down. He's called you to greatness. And in order to be called to greatness, I got you. In order to be called to greatness, you have to step out. You have to try something new. Look, imagine if those other two people he took the 5 and he just kept the 5. He took the 2, he just kept the 2, just like the 1 that kept the 1. Imagine how that would have been. It would have been almost, can I be honest with you? When we don't allow our gift to develop like that, it's also disrespectful to our leaders. You know why?
Teachers.
Because our leaders trust us enough to say, here you go. Here's my mantle. Here's all the people. Look, that's how you do it. I won't receive it. Here's all the people that were broken, that were hurt, that God used me to heal. Here, I trust you with those people. That's what he's saying. And when we sit there and we just sit there with it, we're like, okay, God, what do I do now? What do I do? Oh, God, I got it. I don't know what to do with it. You do the last thing you saw him do. Elisha and Elijah. That's my 2 favorite Bible characters right there. It said that Elisha, E-L-I-S-H-A. Go ahead with your question before I go to that.
They wanted to know this.
Yeah, the status quo. What is that? What is
Status quo, that means that you just live a life like everybody else. That you're no different than anybody else.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? You're right there at that base level or below.
You're basic.
You're basic,
Okay,
yeah.
thank
yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've heard it before, but I know some people.
And I don't think anybody in here is basic.
Surely ain't.
Surely
Everybody's unique. Everybody's awesome. Everybody's called to do
weird,
great things.
strange.
So we can't be basic. We can't be basic. But here you have Elijah and Elisha. And this is going to answer every one of y'all questions that are saying, well, I don't know what to do next. And then we're going to be done for the day. I don't know what to do next because I'm at this place and Apostle told me I'm supposed to be an intercessor and I'm interceding, but I don't know what else to do. You study that thing and keep letting that thing develop. Well, I'm supposed to lay hands on the sick and they're not, I'm supposed to lay hands on the sick and they recover, but I don't know what else to do. Honey, it's a whole bunch of hospitals, nursing homes, all that out there that you could be out there laying hands and watching God heal. Well, God, I heard I got the deliverance mantle, but I don't know what to do with it. First, practice self-deliverance. Cast some stuff out of yourself first. Cast some stuff out of yourself and discipline yourself so that you don't open doors for it to come back. But here we have Elijah and we have Elisha. Okay? These two, this is how we know what to do when the mantle is dropped in our lap. Elisha and Elijah. Elisha served Elijah. He served him faithfully. It said that he poured water on the hands of Elisha. You know what that means? It simply means that while everybody else was draining from him, he was replenishing him. He was replenishing strength back to him. He ministered to him. He ministered strength back to him. Like y'all do when Lady Nika, when she finished, that's what he did. Okay? Now, it said that Elijah was getting ready to be taken up by God. So they're going to 3 different places. As they're going to 3 different places, Elijah asks Elijah, no, he tells him, you're released. You don't have to come with me. This isn't a mandatory service, so you don't have to go. Now, some of us, when we hear it's not a mandatory service, we get excited because it's not mandatory. That means we don't have to go. But you have to learn a lesson in this thing. He told Elisha, you don't have to go with me. And Elijah said, as long as you live, I'm going to follow you. All right? So while he's going, there's also what we talk about as I developed this course, the school of prophets. There were some young prophets going around. And they were coming to Elisha and they said, listen, why are you still following him? Don't you know he about to die today? He about to be taken up by God. Why are you still following him? And he said, listen, I don't have time for y'all. I need to understand now. Why are you still worried about him? He said, shut up. I don't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going on to do what God called me to do. They get to the 3rd place. He said, I release you. He said, no, you can't release me. I'm following you everywhere. Finally, he said, well, what can I do for you? This blesses me right here. I love this, Keandra. He said, what can I do for you? He said, I want a double portion of your anointing. And we hear that term double portion, and we all think, oh, just give me a double portion. Be careful what you ask for, number 1. But I want a double portion of your anointing. He could not have asked for that double portion if he had not followed him even after being released to stay home and take a break. He continued on there, and he said, I want a double portion. Elijah said, okay, if you see me when I am taken up, then that double portion will fall upon your life. That's what he told him. So they went to one last place, then they crossed over the Jordan. Before they crossed over the Jordan, Elijah took his mantle. And this is what we talk about in the spirit. In the Old Testament, they had mantles that were like, they wore them. You see it when people wear vestments too. It kind of looks like a cape, that type of a thing. He took it, he threw it down on the water parted. They crossed over on the other side. When they crossed over on the other side, that's when God took Elijah up in a whirlwind and the mantle fell. Now here's where many of us got to. Our leaders have deposited certain mantles in the midst of our lives. They're laying right there. And we're saying, well, I don't know what to do with it. Do you know what Elijah did? He did the first miracle that he performed was the last one that he saw his leader do. He took that mantle, picked it up, threw it on the Jordan, the water parted, they crossed over to the other side. So what are you saying then? When you don't know what to do, I'm not saying mimic your leader, not mimic your leader. Please, we got enough copycats out there. You know, God will develop the character of who you are. But when you don't know what to do with what he's given you, if it's healing that God has imparted in you, you watch what he does and he's praying for people to be healed. And then that's what you go do in the community. If it's deliverance, you watch what you learn, you study deliverance. And as the deliverance team move, you start moving too. And before you know it, he'll have you down there working. Whatever it is, if it's working with young people, then you find out what it is. Pick your leaders' brains, not just for personal things like I don't know what to do about. Sometimes you need to sit down and say, listen, can I study you for ministry? I need to know your ministry mindset. If it, even with business, with Apostle Roach with business, with Overseer with business, find out, well, what is it? How did you become an entrepreneur? What was it about that? Because that mantle, if you are connected, that mantle rests upon your life. You have business ideas. You are creative as well. Those things need to be coming to pass as well. But they can't come to pass when we're just standing there looking at the mantle. Looking at it. So what we have to do is take prophetic responsibility, take prophetic dominion over our lives, and begin to, would you have a question?
Yeah,
oh, okay. And begin to watch what God does in the midst of our lives. I know we didn't really talk too much about the prophetic.
No, that was good.
The main thing that I wanted us to understand is the preparation stage. Get in your word and pray. And I'm not talking about prayer. Let God birth and develop prayer inside of you, especially if you are a prophet, if you have the gift of prophecy. Most people that are prophets are intercessors. If you can't intercede for somebody else, regardless of what you're going through, you can't prophesy to me. God, as a matter of fact, God told, that's one of the things He told me in the book I'm writing. If you can't sacrifice your time and energy to pray for somebody, stop trying to prophesy to them. Because if you can't pray for me, I don't hear nothing you have to say. I don't hear anything you have to say. If He puts you in my mind, He put you in my mind to pray the other day, but I didn't pray because I didn't even know what to pray. You shouldn't even have to know. If you're an intercessor, you just begin to go and pray, and then you will flow into what you need to pray for me. I shouldn't have to tell you my business. If you're an intercessor or a prophet worth his salt, he's going to tell you what it is that you need to be praying. And that's what you pray. You don't go over here, yeah, Cecil, guess what? Girl. What's going on with her? But I'm not talking about her. I'm not talking about her because I love her.
That's what they do.
I just need you to join me in prayer, and we're going to pray for her and pray for everybody around her because we.
And I'm going to pray for you too.
And that's exactly what needs to happen. But y'all, we're in a season, no more hiding our gift. No more hiding it. No more hiding our talent, our ability. No more hiding our praise. No more hiding anything about us that distinguishes us as a city. As a city. If we are a city, then our light should shine bright by what is distinctive about this ministry. If we're a city. If we are. If we're a city, then people ought to want to come to us for what they need. Because we're the city. So when people can't come and we won't offer, I know, right? My mind be going faster than my mouth, Keandra, sometimes. I just be getting, whew, man. But we can't offer what people need if we won't step into it. So we'll never be a city. You know what we'll be? We'll be a, and this is not, I'm not speaking this over us, But what I'm saying is if we don't develop, this is what people see. And this may be why some of our family won't come yet. This may be why. Have you ever watched a development about to be built? It doesn't look like much. But as that development starts to come up, the value of that development starts to come up. The value of the land starts to come up. So the more that we come up, the more the spiritual value of the city will come out, which will draw those that God has designed to be a part of the city. That's it. We can.